Against the Ropes podcast.
Contra las cuerdas.
Against the Ropes podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. AtR podcast. Gio Garcia here alongside Christian Mosqueda. Back for another episode. We are live, starting a little later than usual, Chris. We just concluded an interview with our good friend, Coach Roman Kalantarian, a friend of the show, a trainer to Bakram Murtasaliev. As I said, just concluded that interview. So we're starting the show a little late. We'll give you guys a little bit of insight on that, but welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back, guys. Again, poor Gio. Man, Coach Roma gave us some gems. Of course, a lot of people know him and his fighter from knocking out Tenzu, but man, people got tuning in for that one, Gio. That one was a good one.
Yes, sir. And yeah, that should be up possibly on Friday. Not sure I'll get to it right away. But we'll make sure everything looks good, everything sounds good, and we'll post that one up maybe tomorrow if you guys are lucky, but by Friday for sure we should have that up. And yeah, you know, he talked a little bit about that Keith Thurman win. He talked about the Virgil Ortiz offer that I'm sure you guys have heard the rumors. They offered Virgil Ortiz Jr. the fight against Bakram Murtasaliev, who does hold a strap at 154 pounds. If you guys remember, he defended it successfully against Tim Tszyu, dismantled Tim Tszyu. That kind of put him on the map, at least for a lot of fans over here in the U.S. They offered Virgil Ortiz to fight. Coach Roma confirmed that was true and that Golden Boy turned it down. But I don't know if we want to talk too much about that. We want you guys to go listen to the interview. But he did give his thoughts on Keith Thurman, Chris. Keith Thurman, who returned, fought March 12, I believe, here this morning, yesterday in Australia, I believe. But he got the stoppage, third round, Chris. Keith Thurman, who he looked good. He looked good. He's been out of the ring for so long. If you guys remember, he was supposed to fight Tim Tszyu, pulled out of that fight, and Tim Tszyu ended up fighting Sebastian Fundora. Took a loss in that fight as well. But Keith Thurman is back. Does it matter, Chris? Is he going to make a splash at 154? Do you think some of the big names will want to get in there with him, or is he just too old? I believe he's 36 years old now. Let me pull that up for you guys.
Yeah, first of all, Joe, yeah, he's up there, but he's a name. He's a name, Gio, and obviously Coach Roma mentioned it. You know, he talked about Keith Thurman and they want that fight. But no, definitely, Joe. Anybody that's at 154 that wants a name, that needs a payday, Keith Thurman is your guy. And I agree, Joe. I think he looked athletic. He looked well. I think that was one of the things we wanted to see how much is left in Keith Thurman. Obviously a win is a must. But people wanted to see was he going to look old? Was he going to look slow? Was he going to look sluggish? Were those years out of the ring gonna take a toll? And I thought he looked good. Obviously, it's against a Brock Jervis, so you're gonna look good against that guy. But man, third round knockout, Gio, I'm taking it. I think I don't want to say Keith Thurman's back, but maybe he's got a little bit more time in his career than we previously thought.
Yeah, Brock Jarvis, who had one defeat before that, 22-2 now, 20 KOs, 27 years old. Easy work for Keith. Who, let's see, when was Keith's last fight? He last fought against Mario Barrios in 2022. Won that fight. His lone defeat is to Manny Pacquiao. And of course, you guys remember he had that run at 147 where he defeated guys like Josecito Lopez, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Robert Guerrero, Luis Colazo, etc., etc. Great run for Keith, and then kind of fell off the face of the earth. Had accidents, retired I don't know how many times. Chris, you even mentioned a possible fight with Errol Spence. I think that one would make a lot of sense. These guys didn't fight in their primes, but, I'd say a little over the hill now. Over the hill, Keith Thurman, 36 years old, inactive. Errol Spence a little younger, but almost as inactive as Keith Thurman. So they might get that on. However, it seems like a fight with Tim Tszyu is inevitable. Tim Tszyu, who's supposed to fight April 6th against Joey Spencer. They just announced that fight. So it looks like they're trying to match Keith Thurman and Tim Tszyu up once again.
Yeah, June, I was watching the highlights once again before the podcast, and who did I see? Tim Tszyu's name on the commentary. So yeah, it feels like our roles are set for those two to collide. It makes sense. Somebody with the name of a Keith Thurman against somebody up and coming like Tim Tszyu. Other than that brutal knockout, this is a fight that makes sense. The veteran against the up and coming youngster, Jill. So that's a fight that will get both of these men a nice payday. But yeah, man, having said that, Gio, I think Keith Thurman, and you mentioned Errol Spence earlier, I think a year ago, 2 years ago, that fight didn't make sense. Now it kind of makes sense. You got Errol Spence Jr., who's a name. I think when these guys were in their prime, it was 1-1 right there. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, and then Keith Thurman, looking outside that number 2 position. So I'm looking at how Keith Thurman performed, and Errol Spence being a little bit damaged goods. I think that fight makes sense now or never, Gio. I think if they make that fight this year, it can sell.
Yeah, Big Bro not convinced. He says, Keith, once upon a time, Thurman knocked the guy who Paro had KO'd in one round a couple years ago at 140. He also says Jarvis started his career at 118. He says, slight encounter. I like this comment right here. I think Thurman should fight Brandon Adams next. Brandon, friend of the show. It looked like that last time out, I forget the name of the tournament that he competed in. It looked like they robbed him of that, but let's not forget, man, Brandon Adams KO'd Sergey Boachuk, when Boachuk was coming up. Man, Brandon Adams is still a real tough fighter, so I would like that. Both guys veterans. That's a good name for Keith, but it looks like they're going after that Australian money, Chris. Trying to fill up those seats over there in those arenas in Australia against Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu, as we said, he's supposed to fight Joey Spencer, and if he wins, everything looks like he will be fighting Keith. But going back to that topic, I just saw the page here pop up. I'm gonna just go ahead and read. I'm not gonna give too much insight on the interview, but I'm gonna go ahead and read what the Golden Boy exactly said about that fight at 154, since we're on the topic of these guys at 54. The headline reads, Eloya doesn't like the Virgil Ortiz versus Bakra Murtasaliev clash. Golden Boy stated, I don't like the Murtasaliev fights. Virgil just had 2 tough fights against Madrimov and Boachuk. Anybody in the right mind knows that that's 2 tough fights. He needs a welcome home type of fight against a top 10 kind of fighter. If you go straight into the fire, what are we going to do? Burn out? Virgil? No. I had my plan, and that's why Golden Boy has been successful for so many years. You see Martizaliev there, 23-0, 17 KOs. He has that IBF belt that Virgil was supposed to challenge for, and Golden Boy says no, not now, at least.
Yeah, Gio, that's obviously if you're Team Murtazaliev, that's a tough thing to hear. That's not something you want to hear, especially after coming off the biggest win of your career, name wise. So it's a tough thing to hear. But yeah, man, I think business wise, I agree with Oscar De La Hoya, Gio. Again, he's a businessman. He's got to make the right and the proper maneuver when it comes to his fighter. Obviously, as a boxing fan, I'm like, oh, I want to see that fight. I want to see it now. But if we get it in 6 months, man, and Timur Tazaliev gets that kind of fight, then all will be forgiven. But yeah, as of now, obviously knowing Coach Roma and just seeing what his fighters had, he's had to be patient for many years. And again, hopefully we get that soon, Gio, because that fight will be fireworks. Obviously, we've seen what Mortuzaliev can do. Obviously, we've seen Virgil Ortiz. He's a guy that always has that extra gear. He's always got that extra will. Even when he's, losing rounds, like he finds a way to turn the fight and comes out victorious. So, yeah, I feel like this would be, a come forward fight for both fighters. And, man, this has fight of the year written all over it the day that it gets made.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we talked about this fight after, Ortiz passed that Madrimov test. To me, the best fight to make at 154 is Murtasaliev and Ortiz. It looks like we're going to have to wait a little longer for it. I'd like to see it maybe next year. Murtasaliev, I believe, is 32 years old. He doesn't have a ton of wear and tear, 23-0, 17 knockouts for the 32-year-old out of Russia. And as Coach Roma stated, they're waiting for the fight. It seems like no one wants to get in the ring with them. So Murtazaliev is on a bit of a recess right now because of Ramadan. So training is on hold, at least for now. And, they're just waiting for another call. He said they responded with a quick yes as soon as they got that call about possibly fighting Virgil Ortiz Jr. So we'll see what happens there. 154, a lot of movement, and I feel like a lot of these belts are up for grabs, man. Charlo's still out there. Let me pull up the list. At least his name is still on there. He hasn't fought in a while. You see Fundora with 2 straps, Murtasaliev with 1, and Terrence Crawford with another one. Virgil Ortiz with an interim belt, and Charlo, who had all the belts, but he became the champion of recess due to inactivity. So we'll wait and see. He also gave his thoughts on Crawford moving up. I don't want to say too much about that, but yeah, just go check out the interview. As I said, should be released either tomorrow, Thursday, or Friday.
Obviously, Joe, I posed this question to Coach Roma. I'm gonna pose you the same question. Do you think Murtazaliev is a boogeyman at 154, or do you think he's just so dangerous that he's monikers of most avoided at 154?
I think, unfortunately for him, there's bigger names at 154, and I think he's the most dangerous one. So you want to call him the boogeyman? Sure, go ahead. I just think, look, Spence is, I think, still in the mix. I'm not sure. Crawford, I'm not sure if he's still in the mix. He's so focused on fighting Canelo. Fundora, has become a name lately, and he has 2 belts. Obviously, Virgil Ortiz. So I think, unfortunately for Murtazaliev, he's the least known, highest risk, lowest reward out of all those guys. So yeah, good luck, man. I hope they're able to get a big fight. As of now, one guy has said no, at least for the time being, or his promoter has. And we'll just have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see what Virgil Ortiz says. I'm sure they're going to ask him about this. Virgil has stated that he's willing to fight anyone. So we wonder if there's going to be a bit of a clash there between, what Virgil wants and what Oscar De La Hoya wants for him. But yeah, for now, I think, yeah, Murtasaliev is seen as the boogeyman in that division. Nobody seems to want to smoke. Nobody seems to want to go after that IBF strap.
Obviously, Joe, we obviously Oscar's the boss. If he says no, that's what's gonna go. For the time being. Who do you think in and around that division answers the call, Gio, or who do you wish would take the risk in fighting a Mortazaliev? Is there any name, anybody in and around that division, not named Virgil Ortiz, that you feel should answer the call and should roll the dice and take this fight?
Yeah, look, we're looking at the list of champions right now. I think 160 Arislandi Lara or Carlos Adames. I hope those guys want to get in there with him. I hope they line him up with those guys because he can become a champion in another division at 160. I just don't see the guys at 154 getting in the ring with him. Fundora was so stuck on fighting Errol Spence or Crawford. He wanted one of the big fights. Now he's fighting, I'm not sure who, but it seems like he's not going to take any risks. That's just what it seems like as of now. We just spoke about Virgil. Terrence Crawford seems like he's not taking any risks. He wants a payday. Charlo doesn't seem like he's going to come back anytime soon, so I think he might have to take something meaningful at 160. And I say meaningful because, yeah, he might be able to stay at 54, but not sure any of the top dogs will want it. Now, we got some comments here. Big Bro says the Madrimov fight wasn't even that hard. Didn't take much punishment. But if they want an easier fight, they go after Fundora. That's an easy KO, and they take all those belts for Virgil. Mort versus Boachuk would be 2, says Slide Encounter. That's another tough fight. Will Boachuk take it, though? Boachuk has been taking tough fights. I'm not sure that he goes that route. He might have to, though. He might have to.
I was gonna say that's something that if a title presents itself, how do you say no? You don't have like the Boachucks of the world. They don't have an Oscar the Lawyer behind them. They don't have a built-in country behind them. So, hey, if a Boachuk comes calling and he answers the bell, dude, oh my goodness, I will tune in. It has fireworks written all over it as well. Again, Boachuk, I think, gave a good account of himself against Virgil Ortiz. Dropped him, hurt him, touched him up. If it wasn't again for Virgil Ortiz's, out of this world gear, I think Boachuk walks out the winner. So, yeah, man, that's a fight that also has fight of the year written all over it, man. But yeah, man, we'll see. Again, this is how boxing is, Gio. One day nobody wants to fight you, and all of it out of the blue, a fight will be announced. So I'm hoping, Coach Roma and then, Mert get that call. We're gonna call him Mert. Slide Encounter, shout out to you. Makes it easier for us to say, but hopefully we get news like that. Again, watch the podcast tomorrow, guys. Coach Roma talks about a date where they're looking to get Bakram back in the ring.
Yeah, and we're looking at Sergey's record here, 25-2. His losses to Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Brandon Adams. 24 KOs in those 25 wins. 29 years old for Boachuk. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think if they get that call, it's going to be very, very tough for that team to say no, especially after, taking that loss versus Virgil. He won his last fight, but not something meaningful to get that title shot. So I think if they get it, they might have to say yes. But yeah, that's what's going down in the 154-pound division as of now. We'll see. Keith Thurman, he's back. He's fighting on a weekday. It was free on YouTube. You guys can watch the fight on YouTube. I'm sure not many people woke up early to watch a Keith Thurman fight at 36 years old. But yeah, you guys can watch it, watch the fight. And yeah, we'll see what's up next. As I said, Tim's U, April. He's back in about a month from now. So maybe we get that fight at the end of the year.
You know who's someone that could get a fight, Gio, that might need to take this fight? And that may be Mortazalia, it might be his only option. Our boy Brandon Adams right there, Gio. Brandon Adams is a guy that, he's been knocking at doors. People don't seem to pay attention, pay no mind to him. But hey, if Mortazaliev can get a one of those fights, maybe Brandon Adams is the guy that keeps him busy. And that slight encounter, shout out to you, man. He said that's a fight Thurman should get. I think Brandon Adams is an opponent for Mortazaliev. Again, if nobody answers the bell, maybe if Brandon Adams, this is his opportunity. So hey, over here doing the boxing work, Gio, at 154.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I doubt he's watching. But our good friend of the show, Trevor Sombrano, who he's close to Brandon Adams. The last time I spoke to him was at the fights at the Commerce Casino out there where Tofimo was out there, Ryan was out there. A lot of people were out there. He said they were trying to get that Tim Zhu fight. They said that was a possibility, Brandon Adams and Tim Zhu. Now with Keith returning, that probably looks unlikely, but Brandon Adams, Tim Zhu fight would also be a good one. Obviously, it would have to be in Australia. That's what we're talking about. He said it would have to make sense, financially, because you'd have to travel over there against all odds and try to get a victory. So, but yeah, 154, getting interesting. Chris, let's talk about other news and boxing. I'm just on the Ring magazine website right now. One of the headlines says Usyk Parker mandatory fight is ordered by the WBO. In another article, it says the rematch versus Dubois, the talks are underway. So we'll see how that clashes and who ends up getting that Usyk fight, obviously for all the belts. I'm sure you heard too, Mauricio Lara, 2-year ban for a failed test. And then Hamza Shiraz moving up to super, what is this, middleweight? Yep. What do you think about that? So Lara banned a couple years after fighting Lee Wood.
That was some unfortunate news, Gio, when it first came out, but I think my sentiments were a lot similar to a lot of people in the boxing where a lot of people were like, oh, that makes sense. If we remember, Gio, there was a 2-3 year where Lara was just knocking guys out left and right, Gio. I was like, man, this guy's explosive. This little man can punch. So there was a 2-3 year run where this guy was just punching everybody out, Gio. So yeah, man, Lara was going overseas and knocking guys out in their own backyard. So fortunate to hear that that he got busted for what steroids or PEDs. So yeah, 2-year ban is no joke. They don't play around with it. I think he's suspended in the UK if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, man, it's unfortunate. That's no bueno.
Yeah, and then also in other news, now they know it will be fighting. It is confirmed now, May 4th in the U.S., Vegas. He is fighting friend of the show, Ramon Cardenas. 29-0, 26 KOs, obviously undisputed at 122. 24-0 in title fights with 22 knockouts. Wow, that's impressive. So basically just 5 of his fights haven't been title fights. And on the other hand, Cardenas 26-1, 14 KOs. He's on a 14-fight winning streak. As we mentioned before, stablemate of MJ, right? And it seems like MJ might be next. So both of them were calling for this fight. Cardenas gets the call. He answers. He says yes. And we're going to get a packed weekend there. Cinco de Mayo weekend, May 2nd. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero in that good undercard. May 3rd, Canelo Alvarez against William School for the undisputed 168-pound title. And May 4th, Inoue versus Cardenas.
Yeah, no, Gio, that was news that brought happiness to my heart, Gio. Again, obviously I'm here covering the Indio fighters. They're 5-10 minutes from where I work. So again, just hearing that, you always hear these stories, Gio, about the guys that Ramon Cardenas, the top 10 type of guys that say that they want these fights, but sometimes it happens where it doesn't materialize for them, or the contract gets lost on the way here, or something happens. But Ramon is somebody that said like, hey man, win lose, like I want that fight. That fight is going to change my life. It's going to change my family's life. That's what I've been working my entire life for. So the fact that he signed on the dot and he's going up against the very best, a pound for pound type of talent, and he's like, hey man, I'm rolling the dice. I'm gonna go for broke. I mean, that just tells you, man, like these opportunities, man, they don't come in every once in a while, and you just gotta take them. Again, he's got nothing to lose, Gio. He's got everything to win. Naoya Inoue, again, one of the very best, one of the toughest assignments in the current boxing, sphere. So yeah, tough assignment for Ramon Cardenas, but he's embracing it, man. He's embracing the opportunity, the life changing bag, and dude, we're excited for it.
Yeah, and in other news, last topic here, we're going to keep this one short. As we said, we started this podcast a little later than usual. We had an interview with Coach Roma Kalantarian, coach of Bakram Martasaliev, before this live show. So, as I said, we started a little later. We'll be releasing that interview soon, but we got to talk about Garcia Romero. Chris, have you been watching the press conferences, New York, LA? There's a poll here. Who wins? I think we're both going with Ryan, right? I'm gonna cast my vote for Ryan. Boom.
Yeah, I think we're both going for Ryan, but Rollies is a friend of the show, man. We had him before he had all these fights. We've had him before he was, known for all his antics. And I gotta say, Gio, I've been pleasantly surprised with Rollies, man. I feel like he's grown on me a little bit more, man. He's just been kind of quiet behind the scenes. He's been giving little moments, little quips here and there, but I think he's secretly locked in, man. Again, I don't think too many people favor him. I think a lot of people are betting the house on Ryan to win by knockout. But hey, man, I like Rollies, and I hope he gives a good account of himself, man. Again, he's been able to maximize off of the last 3 or 4 years, and man, good for him.
Yeah, and it didn't let me vote, and it was making me log in. So whatever. But yeah, things are heating up. I know Barboza and Tofimo were going at it. Haney was trying to sue everyone, saying everyone was on drugs. Jose Ramirez saying he's going to test Haney's chin. You see some of the photos there posted on the ring. Look at Rolly. On the ring's website. Look at that. I'm going to just leave it up. That should be a thumbnail right there. That Rolly face. But yeah, things are heating up, and as I said, that same weekend, that Canelo weekend, it's about a couple months away, man. So excited for some good boxing. March, a little quiet. March will be a little quiet. April will start heating up, and May is really when things always heat up, right? Canelo weekend, and then we usually get some good fights around that date. So yeah, exciting stuff in boxing right now. I'm surprised they're not going at Devin Haney more, Chris. I'd be going in on him.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people, have secretly been going in. They've been doing on the low. Obviously, I feel like the show stealers right now has been Teofimo. Gio, outside of that first press conference, which was a snoozer, and I was rooting for Dale on the entertainment aspect, man. I thought he was doing a good job promoting himself in that first fight. Obviously, since then, we've seen the slap heard around the world. Not talking about Chris Rock or Will Smith. I'm talking about the slap, between Teofimo and Arnold Barbosa. So, man, again, it's entertainment. It's something we're all going to tune in for. Again, I've always said, how do you follow up? February 22nd, this is how you do it with these kinds of names. So again, a lot of characters, a lot of names, a lot of friends of the show. I'm excited for this one, Gio. We'll see what happens. Again, the Ryan Garcia versus Rollies is like a poor man's Oscar de la Hoya versus Antonio Mayorga. But hey, man, in boxing, everybody's got a shot. So Rollies, just like our boy Ramon, he's got nothing to lose, man, and everything to gain. And nobody's giving these two guys a chance. And if you're able to land a punch from heaven, man, it's going to change your entire trajectory. So, man, I'm excited for this one, and can't wait, man. May is heating up. like you said, Gio, March is a little slow. That's the time to take the girlfriend out, man, and let her know you got plans in May. So yeah, man, I'm excited for late March, April, and obviously May, man. I'm excited for that. What a weekend.
Or just pretend like you're busy and save some money. But but hey, what's worse, getting slapped like that or getting an egg to the face like Connor Ben?
Dude, Conor McGregor got an egg? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Again, nobody wants to see you like, catch a punch on a press conference because then the conversation is gonna start flowing like, oh, if he couldn't block that, how is he gonna respond in a fight? So it's tough, man. They not a good look, but obviously, like Arnold said, it makes it even more personal. I think Arnold has to be careful not to let the emotions get to him because that's what Teofimo wants. And I know you're a big fan of Teofimo too, Gio. I know that he's an entertaining guy. But obviously we got a little bias on this side. But you gotta keep your calm, man. You gotta keep your calm. Biggest fight of your career. Arnold's got to keep his calm when it comes to fight night, man.
Yeah, no, I think that's the most exciting fight on that card. But yeah, I think that's all we got. I'm not sure if we mentioned, excuse me, the trilogy. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano is on. Serrano said to be the highest paid women's athlete when it comes to combat sports that night. So that's gonna be exciting. I believe it's on Netflix again. Just some of the fights that were recently announced as we take a look at this calendar. As we said, March not as busy. April is when it begins picking up a little bit. See Jaron Ennis there. The Chris Eubank Jr. and Connor Ben fight. And then May is really when things start popping off. Got some action in New York, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Las Vegas. So yeah, things will start picking up little by little, and we'll be breaking it all down. Chris, I think that's all I have for today's show.
No, it's for me, guys. Just thank you guys for tuning in and dropping your comments. Once again, like Gio said, we were able to get a nice little interview with Coach Roma. Obviously he's been working for years, but most known, like you said, Gio, for that huge win over Tinzu, third round knockout. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody expected it. So yeah, man, we're excited to see what happens in that 154-pound picture. Again, like Gio said, May, man. Don't make any plans for that week, man. That week is dedicated to boxing. But yeah, man, let's get out of here, Gio. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. That's it for us today.
That's it, mates. We'll be back next week. We appreciate it. Stay tuned, man. Check out that community tab. Stay tuned for more videos, man. We got more coming. Appreciate it. No Diddy. Let's go, mates.
That's Oscar. Wants to be on top. Vámonos.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo.
Hola amigos, soy Juan Francisco Gallo. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas. Échenle muchas ganas, un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Huge shout out to Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview, and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time out y'all day.
Against the Ropes, #1.
Freddie Roach.
Thank you very much.